All right, let's talk about Bitcoin. All right, so what I'm about to share with you is not financial advice. It's for general information purposes. I think it's just fun also. And you should always do your own due diligence before you invest. I always say get educated first. It takes at least the minimum 6 months of understanding all this stuff. I got into this more than 4 years ago, during the last bull run, as they call it. And before it was popping off. And I saw it go from, from like essentially like $2,000 or $3,000 all the way up to 19,000. I think it came all the way down. And even when it came all the way down, usually whenever it comes all the way down, people lose interest. I was still super fascinated by it. I still would study it, watch a lot of YouTube videos about it. So I have about 4 years of experience of being super, at this point, I'm like super fascinated, super obsessed. I used to be obsessed with like poker. When it came to like, I'm like very analytical, like analyze stuff. I used to analyze poker and stuff. And I took that same kind of passion and enthusiasm about learning something, and I turned that into Bitcoin and crypto. So first of all, what does Bitcoin have to do with legal funnel? Well, one is it's about protecting your future and making sure that you're ahead of the game, right? So everything that I shared with you guys are way ahead of all the systems, Google Sheets, VAs, all this stuff. And promise you, get most of the general market of the lawyers have done. There's a lot of people who don't understand what VAs are, let alone utilizing them. So, it's about staying ahead of the game. Next, I also believe in having a first mover advantage. There's always a huge advantage of getting onto things early, understanding it, and implementing it for yourself. Also, the timing with the government printing cash couldn't be any better. That's self-explanatory. And there's also many ways to take advantage of Bitcoin and retirement accounts. I know we're very, us lawyers, we're very financial educated and conscious of that things. Well, actually, Bitcoin actually ties into that. It doesn't go away from that. So there are ways to take advantage of it in your retirement accounts that you didn't even know were possible. And I'm going to touch upon that today. So what is Bitcoin? It's a digital currency that was created in 2009. So what that shows to me is it has stood the test of time so far. So at least for 12 years, it's lasted. It's good. It hasn't broken down. It's good. And there's a lot of competitors too. There's a lot of competitors to Bitcoin. There's at this point 15, 20,000 of different coins, but nobody has been able to topple Bitcoin yet. The way that it works is that balances are kept in a public ledger that everyone has transparent access to. Okay, the same way that you guys have Google Sheets and you have your different people that are on it, it's the same thing. Imagine one place where everybody can see exactly who has what, who's transferring what. And that leads to the reason why it's decentralized, which means that it's not issued by any bank or government. There's nobody involved. Every time, the traditional way of sending money is you have your bank that you hold your money, and then every time you need to wire money or move money, you need to contact your bank, you need to pay some fees, have them do it. Versus Bitcoin and crypto is decentralized, which means it's direct from one person to another. There's no middleman. All transactions are verified, so everything is true. There's no way for it to be not true. They're just the way it's built into the technology. And you can make international payments, which means it's not tied to any country or subject to regulations. You can easily, the same way you can transfer somebody a minute away, the same way you're able to send money to somebody in Australia literally within minutes. And it's also a great store of value. And this is very important. A lot of people who are new to this, they don't understand this. It's not meant to be used as a currency. It's not going to replace dollars. It's just it's meant to be just a way for you to hold money. The same way they have a savings account, it's like a savings account. Okay. It's not meant to be used as a currency, at least not yet. Okay. So just have that in mind. It's not going to replace anything. It's just going to be its own way to store money. The benefits is, first of all, it's decentralized. That means the government can't interfere. As much as they would love to be able to ban stuff, there's no way, once you understand the technology behind it, you realize there's no way to ban Bitcoin. Okay. The government is going to start in the next couple of months, locking down and also try to regulate a lot of the other altcoins, as they're called. And the other altcoins, the other coins should be concerned, but Bitcoin is the most decentralized. That means there's no way to kind of control it and go after somebody. There's no way to go after. There's no way to file a lawsuit to prevent people from making these transactions. And it could be sent from one user to another without the need for a middleman. And again, you cannot prevent somebody, you cannot ban this. You cannot prevent people from, you can't ban internet these days. So if you can't ban internet, you cannot ban Bitcoin. Just, a lot of people don't understand that. It's also scarce and it's finite. There's a finite amount of them. More can't be printed. There's a thing called mining, but there can't be more than the 21 million Bitcoins that there will be into the future. So, and it's the only finite asset in the world, which is pretty cool. And it's meant to be used as a hedge, as insurance against everything else that's going on in the world. Okay, so it's when the whole world is going this way, this is supposed to be like a safeguard where you're kind of protecting yourself the other way. So that's the way you got to kind of think about it. You're going against the gradient, kind of. This is what the Bitcoin chart looks like from the beginning. Obviously, even these numbers don't even show on the charts, because the only way this chart makes more sense is if you put it into a more of a look at what it's called, exponential graph, I believe it's called, where you'll kind of see the constant growth over time. And if you also notice, there's they're called bull runs or runs, where it's every 4 years, which I'll explain shortly. Goes up, goes down, goes up, goes down, but over time it's just going towards up. And this is what the chart looks like in the past year. Obviously it was much less. Then it shot up to 64,000. It cooled off to about 30,000, and now it's about to go on this nice little massive run, and then go up, and then come back down, and then go back up. And again, it's very high variant. That means it's the ups and downs, but overall, if you zoom out in the big picture, if you look at any 4-year period, nobody has lost money in Bitcoin if they've held it for at least 4 years. So the longer your horizon is, the more realize that there's no way that it goes down. It's all because, again, it's finite, and because the demand for it goes up, and there's all this money printing, that the only way, once you realize it, the only way is up. There's no way that it's going to go down. This is what there's different charts. So there's hundreds of different charts to explain where it's heading, where it's going, things like that. This is one of them. This is one of the better ways to kind of look at it. It is exactly where we are right now. So when we reach that 64,000, we're right around here, which is around the orange part, which is basically it was in the, is this a bubble territory, or this one, FOMO? We're kind of in that stage. So we've cooled off since then, and about a couple of weeks ago was actually a very, very good time. Even when it was at the 30K mark, I was like messaging my friends. I'm like, hey, if you guys were waiting to get in, like, right now's the time. And now we're at 50K, which just means we're right in that hodl stage, which is basically hold on. And then we're basically, guess what? It's going to repeat itself the same way that this is repeat itself. We're about to go pretty much back up, go into this. And the closer we get towards the peak, the faster it shoots up. So we're about to go in the next 6 months, based on things that I know and things that I follow. It was this kind of run up was supposed to be until October, September. But because of all this stuff that happened with China and all this other stuff, the period, this 4 years of period got elongated. Now this run is supposed to be until late February, into March of 2022. So right around in the next 6 months is basically when we have this massive growth again, and then it's going to again cool off, and then again go back up in the next 4 years after that too again. Why does Bitcoin go up, and what can we learn from it? Well, again, it's tied to this whole cycles, which happens every 4 years, and it's tied to this whole thing. It's basically the halving cycles. Technicality, I don't want to get into it, but basically just know these cycles happen every 4 years, and the way that it works is, again, goes up, comes down, goes up, comes down. But over time, if you look at it, it will just continue going like this. Right. And it does have an average return ever since its creation. Its average return on your investment is 200%. That means your money triples if your money triples every year. And again, it's tied to that's the halving cycle that I just shared. And let's look at the gains per year. So in 2011, the gain was 233%. And then 1,600%, then 150%, then 38,000%. And then we have that year in the cycle where basically it cools off. So that year we have 50% drop off. Then again, it goes up 100%, 600%, 100% drop off, 26%, 300%. This year is supposed to be a good year, and then 2023 will be like the cool off period, and then again we'll continue going down. If you notice, the percentages become less and less because there's less room. It grows in the less percentage, but no matter what, you cannot. It continues going up. Again, there's different ways to look at the averages. In this chart, the average is 600% since its creation, but there's other ways to figure out the average. The one that I follow is what you expect is on average. If you look at the entire 4 years, the expected average return is 300%, with 200%, which is about 3x ROI. All right, so 3 important lessons about Bitcoin. So lesson number 1 is to study the macroeconomic trend we're currently in. Okay, so think about what's going on in the world. One is there's money printing left and right. It's not just America. It's all the countries in the entire world just printing money because that's the only way that people, that the countries can kind of survive during this time. So that's definitely going on. Second is we're in a modern era, technology. So what's so crazy about money that's tied into technology? That's essentially what Bitcoin is. So why is that such a crazy idea? Third is I'm a huge believer that it's very obvious that the only constant is change. Everything always changes. There's nothing stays stagnant. So why can't there be a change into how we look at money and what is money? What kind of, the same way that we didn't 20 years ago, we didn't imagine online and all this stuff being overtaking our life and us making most of our friends through Zoom and us be able to use our phones to do everything that we do. You realize that everything always changes. So money has to change. Why is that such a crazy idea? So you want to bet on technology in a modern world where that's the world that we're in. So bet on technology. What do you have to, be a traditionalist and be like, no, that's not the way it's going to go. No, it is. Just accept the reality. That's number 2. Bitcoin volatility is inevitable. Okay. It is super volatile. It does have a lot of swings. It does, out of nowhere, it could drop 30-40%. Okay. That's for sure. Okay. So it's not for the faint of heart. However, I also believe that Bitcoin rise is also inevitable. Once you understand it, again, there's a lot more things that I can get into it trying to explain this. You realize that there's no way it goes down. It only goes up again because the world, it's not just a US phenomenon. This is shared across the world. A lot of countries are dealing with all these issues and things, and there needs to be a way for you to store your money. And there's a very secure and safe way for you to secure money. And again, it's finite. So the more people that want this, the more the value goes up. Once you understand that, then you're like, well, this is it's going there. It's going to happen. Doesn't matter how much you don't want it or not. So it is inevitable. Again, it is super volatile, but that volatile, it scares people that are very short-term thinkers and people that don't understand it. So if you're a long-term thinker and you realize in 10 years, 15 years, what this could look like, your mindset just becomes that. That's why I never worry about any day that I wake up or something happens. Even a couple of months ago, it dropped off from 60 to 40. That didn't trip me out at all. I'm like, I don't care. If anything, I was happy when it went down because now I could buy more, because if I'm a believer in this, now I'm going to take advantage of that to just get into it more, which I did. So think long-term, play the long game. And when in doubt, always zoom out. Okay. In life, the most successful people, if you look at people around you, the people that are most successful are always the longest term thinkers. People that are not short-term thinkers, people that don't do things just for that making money, quick buck. Now think about one of the most successful entrepreneurs of our generation is Jeff Bezos. His company was losing money for 10 years. Just why? Because he had this vision of, let me create the best online store for people. And let me give people, Amazon had a policy just to let people return stuff and give them give them 2-day shipping, even though it costs a lot of money. Let them do that, because over time I'm playing the long-term game, and I know if I get more and more customers, then I'll be the most successful company. So he's the biggest long-term thinker that we know. And usually the most successful people are long-term thinkers. So whoever plays the long-term game usually wins. So this ties into that. And lesson number 3 is, I strongly believe that Bitcoin is just too important to be ignored. Okay. It's not like, okay, this is great. this is happening, I don't understand it. No, I really do think like if there's something going on, like I think you have a responsibility to at least study it for yourself. You're working your ass off making money. Use your money to make you more money. So if this is happening in our lifetime, take full advantage of it. I don't want anybody in 30 years be like, damn, I wish I would have, gone into this. I would have studied this. So, I really do strongly believe it is too important to be ignored. Spend the next couple of months to really get into this and just try to get into the game. Just doesn't matter. Never about the amount. I just want you to at least be in the game. And it will, once you do that, then you start, getting into it more and studying it more. And then, and then looking back, if you come back to me in 10 years, I think you'll be very happy. A couple of questions that I always get asked all the time is where to buy Bitcoin. What's the best place to buy Bitcoin? Well, I've been through that. For me to just tell you that Coinbase Pro, not Coinbase. The mainstream, the most popular way is Coinbase. However, Coinbase is very, very, very expensive. And I think the market hasn't caught onto it yet. They take a big chunk of your fees. However much you buy and sell, they take a big chunk. Instead, Coinbase has like a sister software called Coinbase Pro, which is much cheaper fees, where you're able to buy. So look into that. If you're currently buying on Coinbase, buy it on Coinbase Pro instead. Best way to store Bitcoin safely and securely is this thing called Trezor One. Actually, it's pretty cool. I got this like 4 years ago. And I think I'm gonna, based on my research, I've went and got this, and this is what I use. And just yesterday, this Bitcoin crypto expert that I follow, that I'll be sharing with you guys, just did a full analysis of all the wallets and all the different ways to store Bitcoin, and his conclusion was actually this one is the best one. So it's pretty cool. So yeah, this is the best one. It's called Trezor One. Just make sure to buy it from their website. It's pretty cheap. That's how you store it. And what the conclusion is, best way to take advantage of it is first get educated on it. Just learn it. Try to learn about it. I'll share with you guys by far my favorite source about this. And the second is just to accumulate and hold. That's it. That's all you got to do. Very simple. You're not trying to day trade. You're not trying to buy and sell. Okay. Treat it like a long-term savings and just have a rule of thumb. And I had to go through this myself. You learn that to not sell. So the game is just buy as much as you can, whenever you can. All right, so that's that. What else do we have? Also, we have a Facebook, a Slack channel called Bitcoin for Lawyers. If you want to be added to that, just let me know. I can add you whenever I see new videos, things like that. I think it's worthwhile for anybody to see. Sure, Angie. Just let me know. Either put it in the chat or email me or whatever that is. I'll add you to that. I'll share some stuff there. And then this one, sure, thanks, Joel. This is my secret sauce. This is where I learn most of everything that I learned these days. I want to put the link into the chat. I found this guy when he only had a couple of thousand subscribers. He's like God sent. He's been in finance and investments and stocks for 30 years. He graduated from the top business school in the world. Now he's super, super wealthy, and he's retired. And literally just for the sake of giving and just for being a good guy, he does the most thorough, detailed research, reports, news about every single day. He releases videos, and I'm totally obsessed. And I watch every single one of his videos, every single video. He's by far the best source for this. I put the link into the chat because I highly recommend subscribing to him and watching his videos, and you'll thank me later for this. He's amazing, and it literally feels like he's like God sent when it comes to this stuff. All right, so that's my Bitcoin advice of module 2. All right, so we had some questions. If you guys have any questions, feel free to